Welcome to Hockey with Talks podcast. In this podcast, I talk about potential trade targets for the New Jersey Devils. In this podcast, I talk about what the New Jersey Devils need to improve upon and who they should target for the trade deadline. Heading into the season, the New Jersey Devils were expected to win the Metropolitan Division, or at least compete to win the division, with the addition of Tyler Toffoli in the offseason on top of a blossoming young core. There wasn't much concern about the Devils' ability to score goals, as they arguably have one of the best top 6 units in the league, plus good depth scoring as well. But there was concern with their D-core, and especially their goaltending. The goaltending tandem of Vitek Vanacek and Akira Schmid had some fans and experts worried because of Vanacek's inconsistency and Schmid's inexperience. However, most experts had predicted the Devils would be fine because of their ability to outscore their opponents, at least in the regular season. At the time of recording this podcast, the Devils have been a disappointment to say the least, and for many reasons. First, they are currently in 6th in their division with a 11-10-1 record, 81 goals for, which is 5th best in the NHL, and 83 goals against, 5th worst in the NHL. Injuries have played a major part in early season struggles, as they were forced to play stretches of their season without their captain Nico Hischier, and Jack Hughes has missed several games as well. Speaking of Jack Hughes, he has been tremendous this season and has been averaging 1.81 points per game, including 14 on the power play. Jesper Bratt hasn't been bad either, having put up 26 points in 22 games, 16 on the man advantage. The defense has been terrible, to say the least, but at least rookie defenseman Luke Hughes has 14 points in 21 games, including 7 on the power play. Vitek Vanacek has struggled this season, posting an 8-5 record with a 3.49 GAA and .879 save percentage, while Akira Schmid has a 3-5-1 record with a 3.27 GAA and .891 save percentage. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywith777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywith777scouting. Looking at the Devils team right now, the biggest weakness is definitely goaltending. While Vitek Vanacek and Akira Schmid have both shown flashes of stellar goaltending, they aren't consistent enough. The Devils were looking to trade for a goalie in the offseason, and the most prominent name linked to the Devils was Connor Hellebuyck, but now he has committed long-term to Winnipeg, so the Devils will need to pivot their attention to some other goalies, who may potentially become available at the trade deadline. The other thing the Devils need to add is a veteran puck-moving defenseman. With Dougie Hamilton out long-term, the Devils should try to add a veteran puck-moving defenseman to play on the second power play unit if needed. Ideally, the defenseman has playoff experience, and the Devils can have the option of keeping him on the team next year if the fit is right. John Gibson is the star goalie for the Anaheim Ducks and would be a massive addition for any team who adds him. Unlike UC Saros, John Gibson would be easier to trade for because Anaheim already has a NHL-ready number 1 goalie in Lucas Dostal, ready to take the reins if Gibson is traded, and the Gibson trade would help them fill the voids on the roster. Gibson is 30 and is under contract until 26-27. The contract pays him $6.4 million per season, and he also has a modified no-trade clause. Adding Gibson would be huge for the Devils. UC Saros is the star goalie for the Nashville Predators, and would be a massive addition for any team who adds him. However, it would take close to an impossible to turn down offer for Nashville to even consider trading away their franchise goalie. While it's true the Predators have Yaroslav Askarov, considered to be one of the top prospect goalies in the pipeline, the Predators are in no rush to trade away Saros, unless they get an offer that they cannot turn down. You're looking at one of your goalies, a roster player, a top prospect, a mid-level prospect, and several draft picks. So it may not be the smartest decision, but if they do trade for him, it would instantly fix their greatest issue. Even though Nick Leddy is under contract for 3 more years with the St. Louis Blues, the Blues have made it clear that they want to move on from one of their top 4 defensemen. Nick Leddy is by far their most tradable defenseman out of their top 4 they have in St. Louis, as he has only a $4 million cap hit. This is a good price for a player who has a couple Stanley Cups and tons of playoff experience. Leddy would do wonders for the defense and would also help in mentoring their young D-core. Justin Schultz is a veteran puck-moving defenseman who has 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins and would be a massive addition to the blue line in the absence of Dougie Hamilton. Even if the Devils opt to keep Simon Nemec on the roster, he and Luke Hughes are still inexperienced, so they need a veteran defenseman down the stretch to take some pressure off those two. Schultz is exactly what the Devils need, a puck-moving defenseman who can step in and play on the second power play unit if needed. Tyson Barrie is another veteran puck-moving defenseman with some playoff experience. He also has experience playing with superstar players such as Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, and Austin Matthews, so playing with Jack Hughes should be easy for him. Barrie is very similar to Justin Schultz, but the difference is Schultz has 2 Stanley Cups and Barrie hasn't won any. Adding Barrie to the Devils' blue line would help lighten the burden for Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec so they can just play their game. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. This is the projected lineups with John Gibson and Nick Leddy. The first line is Jack Hughes, Tyler Toffoli, and Timo Meier. Second line is Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, and Dawson Mercer. Third line is Andre Palat, Eric Haula, and Alexander Holtz. Fourth line is Curtis Lazar, Michael McLeod, and Nate Bastian. First D pair is Nick Leddy and Luke Hughes. Second D pair is Kevin Ball and John Marino. Third D pair is Jonas Siegenthaler and Simon Nemec. Goalies are John Gibson and Akira Schmid. This is the projected lineup with John Gibson and Justin Schultz. The first line is Jack Hughes, Tyler Toffoli, and Timo Meier. Second line is Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, and Dawson Mercer. Third line is Andre Palat, Eric Haula, and Alexander Holtz. Fourth line is Michael McLeod, Curtis Lazar, and Nate Bastian. First D pair is Luke Hughes and John Marino. Second D pair is Jonas Siegenthaler and Simon Nemec. Third D pair is Kevin Ball and Justin Schultz. Goalies are John Gibson and Akira Schmid. This is the lineup with John Gibson and Tyson Barrie. The forward lines remain the same as in the previous lineup. The top 4 remains the same as in the previous lineup, and Tyson Barrie slides in the third pair alongside Kevin Ball. John Gibson tandems with Akira Schmid in net. This is the projected lineup with UC Saros and Nick Leddy. First line is Jack Hughes, Tyler Toffoli, and Timo Meier. Second line is Nico Hischier, Andre Palat, and Jesper Bratt. Third line is Eric Haula, Curtis Lazar, and Alexander Holtz. Fourth line is Michael McLeod, Brendan Smith, and Nate Bastian. First D pair is Nick Leddy and John Marino. Second D pair is Luke Hughes and Colin Miller. Third D pair is Jonas Siegenthaler and Simon Nemec. Goalies are UC Saros and Akira Schmid. This is the projected lineup with UC Saros and Justin Schultz. The forward lines remain the same as in the previous lineup. Luke Hughes pairs with Simon Nemec on the first pair. Jonas Siegenthaler is paired with John Marino, while Colin Miller is paired with Tyson Barrie on the third pair. UC Saros and Akira Schmid is the tandem in net. This is the projected lineup with UC Saros and Tyson Barrie. The forward lines remain the same as in the previous 2 lineups. The top 4 remains the same, with Tyson Barrie sliding in the third pair to pair with Colin Miller. UC Saros tandems with Akira Schmid in net. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/@HockeyWizTravels. The New Jersey Devils now can spend $9 million over the cap due to Dougie Hamilton being placed on long-term IR. With this in mind, look for the Devils to be active in the trade market from now until the trade deadline. In my next podcast, I'll be talking about potential trade targets for the Washington Capitals.